Once upon a time, in a bustling town filled with the clamor of merchants and the chatter of townsfolk, there lived a merchant who made his living by selling salt. He was a hard-working man, dedicated to providing for his family, his wife and 2 sons. The elder son, though kind-hearted, was painfully shy and hesitant to speak to others. His younger brother, on the other hand, was confident and outgoing, always the center of attention. People often misunderstood the elder son's quiet nature, labeling him as foolish. Little did they know, his silence hid a world of untapped potential. The elder son's shyness made him an easy target for those who sought to take advantage of his innocence. Many times he was tricked into giving away goods for free or doing favors without question. Yet he never complained, fearing confrontation. His father, the merchant, grew increasingly frustrated with his elder son's timid behavior. He often scolded him harshly, hoping to toughen him up. But the more he criticized, the more the boy's self-esteem crumbled. The merchant's words cut deep, leaving the young man feeling worthless and trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. As the elder son grew older, his lack of confidence began to affect every aspect of his life, especially his education. During exams, fear would paralyze him, preventing him from writing down answers he knew by heart. His struggles in school only reinforced the belief that he was destined to fail. When he finally became a young man, his father asked him to help with the family business. Terrified of disappointing his father, he agreed, but his nervousness often led to mistakes. Each error only fueled his father's anger, creating a rift between them that seemed impossible to bridge. One fateful day, while the merchant was away, a group of cunning men arrived at the shop. They approached the elder son with sly smiles, claiming, "Your father has sent us to take all the salt sacks to the city." The young man hesitated, his mind racing. Something felt off, but his fear of confrontation held him back. Before he could gather the courage to question them, the men loaded all the salt sacks onto their cart and disappeared into the bustling streets. The shop was left empty, and the young man stood frozen, realizing too late that he had been deceived. When the merchant returned and saw the empty shop, his face turned red with rage. "You fool!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the streets. "You let them steal everything! You've caused me a great loss! Get out of my sight and never return!" The elder son was devastated. His father's anger, the townspeople's mocking laughter, and his own sense of helplessness overwhelmed him. Heartbroken and filled with shame, he wandered aimlessly until he found himself at the riverbank. The water's gentle flow seemed to whisper an invitation, and for a moment he considered ending his pain forever. Just as he was about to step into the river, a young disciple passing by noticed his despair. Without hesitation, the disciple rushed forward and pulled him back to safety. "Why did you save me?" the young man cried, his voice trembling with anger and sorrow. "My life is useless. I can't do anything right." The disciple looked at him with compassion and replied, "Life is given only once. If you are alive, you can overcome failure and find success. But if you give up, you'll never know what you were truly capable of." His words struck a chord, but the young man remained unconvinced. The young man poured out his heart, sharing his struggles with the disciple. "I am shy and weak," he confessed. "Because of this, my father hates me. I have no education, and people call me a fool. Does someone like me even deserve to live?" The disciple listened patiently, then smiled gently. "My teacher can answer your question. Come with me." At first, the young man refused, but after much persuasion, he agreed to follow the disciple to his master's ashram. As they walked, a glimmer of hope began to flicker within him, though he couldn't yet understand why. When they arrived at the ashram, the young man was greeted by the sight of a great saint sitting under a large tree, deep in meditation. The disciple and the young man bowed before him, and as soon as the saint opened his eyes, the young man broke into tears. "Why are you crying, my child?" the saint asked, his voice calm and soothing. "You are my last hope," the young man replied, his voice choked with emotion. "If you cannot help me, I will end my life." The saint listened intently as the young man poured out his heart, recounting every hardship he had faced. After hearing the young man's story, the saint nodded thoughtfully. "I have a solution for you," he said, "but before I tell you, you must follow my instructions for the next 3 days. If you complete my tasks, I promise your life will change." Desperate for hope, the young man agreed. The saint's first task was simple yet daunting. Go and speak to 10 strangers. Ask them about their lives and write down their answers. The young man hesitated, his fear of rejection bubbling to the surface, but he knew he had to try. With a deep breath, he set out into the town. The first few attempts were humiliating. Some people ignored him, while others were outright rude, but as the day went on, he began to find his footing. By evening, he had spoken to 10 people and even made a few new friends. Proud of his achievement, he returned to the saint and reported his success. The saint smiled warmly. "You see, you are capable of more than you think." The young man felt a spark of confidence for the first time in years. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would transform his life in ways he could never have imagined. The next morning, the saint gave the young man his second task. "Today, you must teach 10 young students about the importance of water." The young man was shocked. "I have no proper education," he protested. "How can I teach?" The saint smiled and said, "Those children do not know that you feel uneducated. Just share whatever you already know." Nervously, the young man stood before the students, his hands trembling. He began to speak, explaining 5 important uses of water. At first, his voice wavered, but as he continued, he found his confidence growing. By the end, he realized he was no longer afraid. When he returned to the saint, he said, "I was so scared, but I did it." The saint replied, "Try again." This time, the young man spoke with even more confidence. The students listened intently, and by the end of the lesson, he felt a sense of accomplishment he had never known. The saint praised him, saying, "See, you are braver than you think." The young man felt a surge of pride, but he knew the hardest task was yet to come. The saint's final instruction was the most challenging. "Today you must visit your father and ask for his forgiveness." The young man's heart sank. "No," he said, "he will never forgive me. I cannot face him." The saint's expression turned firm. "If you refuse, I will not give you the final solution." Gathering all his courage, the young man set out for his father's shop. His steps were heavy, and his mind raced with fear. What if his father turned him away? What if he was met with more anger? But he knew he had to try. When he arrived, he found his father counting goods. The merchant looked up, surprised to see his son standing there, head bowed in humility. "Father," the young man began, his voice trembling, "I am sorry for my mistakes. I want to prove my worth to you." The merchant stared at him, his expression unreadable. For a moment, the young man feared the worst, but then his father's stern face softened. "You have changed," he said quietly. "I see it in your eyes. You are not the same boy who left." Tears welled up in the young man's eyes as his father embraced him. "You have my forgiveness," the merchant said, "and you have another chance." Overwhelmed with gratitude, the young man promised to make his father proud. When he returned to the saint, he asked for the final solution. The saint smiled and said, "You have already discovered it yourself. Your biggest enemy was not your shyness, it was your fear. People see you as you present yourself. Even if you feel weak, act confident, and no one will doubt you. True strength comes from believing in yourself." The young man bowed before the saint, tears of gratitude streaming down his face. "I understand now," he said. "I will not let fear control my life anymore. I will prove to the world that I am capable." With renewed determination, he set out to rebuild his life. Years passed, and the once shy young man became a respected businessman, known for his wisdom and confidence. He often shared his story with others, inspiring them to overcome their fears. "Confidence is not something we are born with," he would say. "It is something we build. Even the shyest person can become strong if they choose to believe in themselves." His words resonated with many, and his journey became a beacon of hope for those who felt trapped by their own insecurities. The young man's transformation was a testament to the power of courage and persistence. He often reflected on the saint's teachings, realizing that his biggest limits had existed only in his mind. Fear and self-doubt had held him back, but by facing his fears, he had unlocked a strength he never knew he had. "The world sees us the way we choose to present ourselves," he would say. "Believe in yourself, take small steps forward, and you will find strength you never knew you had." His story became a legend in the town. A reminder that even the most unlikely individuals can achieve greatness if they dare to step beyond their comfort zones. The young man's relationship with his father also flourished. The merchant, now proud of his son, often sought his advice in business matters. The two grew closer, their bond stronger than ever. The young man's younger brother, who had once overshadowed him, now looked up to him with admiration. "You have become the man I always knew you could be," his brother said one day. The young man smiled, knowing that his journey had not only transformed his life, but also the lives of those around him. His story was a testament to the power of resilience and self-belief. As the years went by, the young man continued to inspire others. He opened a school for children who struggled with confidence, teaching them the lessons he had learned from the saint. "Step beyond your comfort zone," he would tell them. "Face your fears and you will discover your true potential." His school became a sanctuary for those who felt lost, a place where they could learn to believe in themselves. The young man's legacy grew, and his name became synonymous with courage and perseverance. He had once thought he was destined to fail, but by facing his fears, he had transformed his life. The young man often visited the riverbank where he had once contemplated ending his life. Now the sight of the flowing water filled him with gratitude. "This river almost took my life," he would say, "but it also gave me a second chance." He would sit by the water, reflecting on his journey and the lessons he had learned. Fear is a powerful enemy, he thought, but courage is an even greater ally. He knew that his story was far from over, and he was determined to continue inspiring others to overcome their fears and embrace their true potential. In the end, the young man's story became a timeless tale of transformation. It reminded everyone that confidence is not a gift but a choice. "Even the shyest person can become strong," he would say, "if they choose to believe in themselves." His journey was a testament to the power of perseverance, a reminder that the biggest limits exist only in our minds. By stepping beyond his comfort zone, the young man had not only changed his life, but also touched the lives of countless others. His story was a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how dark the path may seem, there is always a way forward.